So guys, it's me, Hunter Ivy, and time to review another movie. And this movie I'm reviewing is actually from Netflix. That's right, I'm reviewing a movie that I watched on Netflix. And this movie is called John Henry, based on the American legend story of, John Henry. They decided to make a movie, John Henry, starring Terry motherfucking Crews. That's right, Terry Crews is in this movie. He plays the main character, John Henry. So yeah, but the story goes like this for the original John Henry story. Basically, John Henry is a muscular guy that has a sledgehammer, and he builds railroads. He goes against this steam-powered railroad thing, this train machine, and goes against it and starts to build railroads faster than he does. John Henry wins, and of course John Henry passes away with his hammer. So yeah, that's how the story ends. And it was a good story. I have to admit, it was a good short, and I loved it as a kid. I still love it to this day. Yeah. But then I heard they made a movie of John Henry. And this is not just any John Henry movie. This John Henry movie was a lot different than I thought. Yeah, when I saw a trailer for this movie, I was like, huh, this seems pretty interesting. It stars Terry Crews as John Henry, and we see Terry Crews with a sledgehammer. This is... wow, okay. Was not expecting that. And when I saw a trailer, I was like, okay, this looks pretty badass. This looks pretty badass. I wanted to watch it. So I watched this movie on Netflix. I've heard reviews about it. I heard reviews say it was unrealistic, and despite the fact that the story is considered fictional, it's not really supposed to be real. So, kind of funny how a critic call a movie unrealistic. But anyway, enough about that. Let's just get on to the movie. Anyway, so the movie stars John Henry, who's played by Terry Crews in this movie, and basically the movie goes on like this. Terry Crews plays as an ex-gang member who is also known as John Henry. So John Henry is this ex-gang member who is what used to be part of a gang that was led by his cousin named Hell, played by Ludacris. So his cousin Hell basically has kidnapped some Spanish people. This girl named Berta and her brother get kidnapped, and then all of a sudden they escape. Actually, just Berta escapes. She's the only one that escapes, actually. So Berta escapes and runs into John Henry. So she runs into John Henry, and then John Henry remembers his cousin Hell. He has some history with him and everything, and he decides to get his revenge on Hell. So he decides to go out on a rampage and kill the gang members that he was part of, and decides to get his sledgehammer and use it, indeed. So yeah. And that's the movie, and that's basically the story in a nutshell. Now, I have to say, that's a pretty interesting story for a John Henry movie. Yeah. So yeah, let's get on to the positives of this movie. I have to say, Terry Crews as John Henry, he's definitely really funny. I actually like him as John Henry. He's badass, even with that sledgehammer. I especially do like Terry Crews. He's always been badass and funny, especially in commercials like this one.
Old Spice Older Blocker Body Wash is so powerful it can block BO for 16 hours. Its blocking power is as powerful as me.
Yeah, it is.
Who said that? Was that my left bicep? No, it was my
abdominals.
Yeah, that's always funny. But anyway, I have to admit, this movie is really entertaining, especially Terry Crews as John Henry, because when you actually watch the third act of this movie, it gets really entertaining. See, spoilers, just to let you know, if you don't want to hear spoilers, skip to this time code right here. Anyway, the spoilers are like this. The spoilers is where John Henry, he comes out with this sledgehammer and starts killing every gang member that he sworns to kill because he's going on revenge. So yeah, I have to admit, the scene is really entertaining with him just smashing every gang member in sight that he known and stuff. It's definitely entertaining. It's the best part of the movie. It really is. Another positive is John Henry's origin story in this movie. It's definitely done pretty well. We get to see how John Henry was born, how he lived his life in the ghetto, how he basically become part of the gang, and all that stuff. It's a pretty interesting story and stuff. Yeah, another positive of this movie has to be the setting. I love the setting in this movie, how the ghetto setting works and everything. It looks just like a movie filmed in the ghetto. So I do gotta give this movie credit. It looks like it was filmed in a ghetto. So yeah, and it does describe how ghettos can be dangerous, how they can be a place you do not want to be in at all. I mean, yeah, it explains how it goes and stuff. You have gangs, rape, violence, you have all that stuff, and drugs too. That's how it goes in the ghetto. Yeah. Another positive has to be Ludacris as Hal. Ludacris as Hal is definitely a menacing villain. He basically has this metal jaw. We'll get onto that later. And the negatives, because it's pretty... It kind of bothers me a bit. Yeah, but anyway, he's a pretty menacing villain. He tries to figure out ways to stop John Henry and stuff, and he's a pretty menacing villain. He does kidnap Berta and also her cousin, Berta and her brother for some reason. They don't really explain very well why he kidnapped them and stuff. But he just kidnapped them, and of course he has a gang that is into violence, rape, and all that stuff, and even drugs too. So yeah, so we get all that for a gang. Everything, the most cliche thing for a gang, indeed. Yeah. But anyway, I do like Ludacris as Hal. He's definitely a very menacing villain. I can see why John Henry goes against him and everything. Yeah. So yeah, indeed, and they have some history with each other, and I can see why. So yeah, now we get on to the negatives of this movie. Well, negatives. Here we go with the negatives. My first negative has to be the acting. Wow, the acting is cheesy. It's very cheesy indeed. I mean, every time I hear someone try to act in this movie, I end up laughing at the lines every time I hear people try to act. Now, even though Terry Crews' acting is pretty good, and his way of playing the character, he definitely does give a pretty good performance. But throughout the entire film, most of the acting is really cheesy, especially for the cutscenes when they show up, when they basically play some flashback that goes around John Henry's story and stuff. Yeah, some of the actors in that flashback scenes acting is really cheesy. It's very cheesy indeed. It looks like they're trying to act, but it doesn't seem they're not trying hard enough. And yeah, it's pretty cheesy. It's pretty hilarious to watch. Yeah, and I can see why this movie is not taken so seriously, because this movie is made on a low budget, and also it's not really that serious of a movie. Yeah, there are a few parts where it does get a little boring, the story and stuff. I will admit that. There is one scene where it involves Lawrence, who plays as Terry Crews' dad, John Henry's dad to be exact, and his character is not really interesting. He's definitely not much in this movie, and on top of that, he's a little boring too. I didn't really like him in this movie. Yeah, another problem in this movie has to be Berta. She is definitely not interesting. She's definitely not a good character in this movie. She's just there. That's all, and there's nothing interesting about her and stuff. And let me get to the last negative of this movie, and that has to be the part where John Henry's story comes in. And yeah, this involves there's not much character of John Henry, even though there's some character with John Henry when it comes to explaining how he was born and how he is and stuff and everything. But unfortunately, there's not much. There's barely any focus on him. Yeah, there's some focus at times, and there are some times where it's barely focused on him, which really does bother me a little bit. And I wish there was more focus put in towards him, because I want to see more story about John Henry in this movie, because his character seems pretty interesting and everything. And then we get to the biggest gripe in this movie is about Hal's metal jaw. Okay, yeah, this is where I have to bring up spoilers again. Once again, if you don't want to hear spoilers, skip to this time code here. Okay, so here are the spoilers for Hal's metal jaw. Okay, apparently he has this metal jaw because he got accidentally shot by a loaded gun when he was trying to hand a gun to his cousin, John Henry, years ago. Yeah, when he was still part of the gang. Yeah, when John Henry was still part of the gang, he wanted to be out. He wanted to be out of the gang. This is when John Henry was supposed to lead the gang. So, Hal, in his younger years, he just tries to force him to give him a gun, and then John Henry refuses it, but then Hal keeps on trying to force it, but then all of a sudden the gun goes off and then it shoots him in the jaw. We don't get to see it at all, which really disappoints me. Yeah, it disappoints me when they don't actually show his broken jaw. It kind of disappoints me and stuff. And they show his metal jaw, and it's gold for some reason. Yeah, it's gold. Yeah, I don't know why it's gold. Oh, and for some odd reason, he can speak perfectly with that metal jaw. How could he speak perfectly with that metal jaw? It makes no sense. That's one of my biggest problems in this movie, how he can speak perfectly with a metal jaw. Usually people have a hard time speaking with a metal jaw, and this movie just shows the fact he can speak perfectly with a metal jaw. Yeah, that's definitely makes sense. No, it doesn't. It doesn't make any sense at all. So there's all my negatives and positives of this movie, John Henry. So what I think of this movie? I think this movie is a guilty pleasure because this movie does have some pretty entertaining parts. It's not taken seriously, and it's like one of those movies you basically get your friends with and just have a good time, and basically a few drinks are involved and everything else. It's kind of like Troll 2 in The Room, yeah, that way and stuff. But anyway, I actually enjoy this movie. I think this movie was kind of fun to watch and kind of hilarious indeed too, and stuff. Yeah. So yeah, but I can understand people not liking this movie because this movie does have some problems. I will admit that this movie is pretty cheesy and it's a pretty low budget movie. But overall, I actually enjoy John Henry. I think it's an entertaining movie, and I think it's fun and stuff. And speaking of John Henry, Netflix is coming out with a John Henry series, which is starring Dwayne Rock Johnson in it. So yeah. But anyway, I give John Henry for a guilty pleasure, I give it 3.5 out of 5 stars. And for a bad movie, since I do think this movie is a really bad movie, but it's so bad it's entertaining. So I give this movie a 1 out of 5 stars. So yeah, for the part, it's actually a bad movie. Yeah, but still, it's still entertaining to watch. Anyway, guys, I'm Hunter High. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys later on the next Positive Negative. See you guys next time.